Hey guys, Dan Capini, and we're back at Gamescom 2010, and I'm joined by Tom Chilton. We're going to chat all things World of Warcraft Cataclysm. Tom, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
So you're in public beta, well, you're in closed beta for Cataclysm. Of the changes that are going through, the Hunters, for example, you've recently ditched Marty, you're going back to Focus. That's one of the big ones that I've noticed. Why have you made that change?
Sure. Well, we really felt like the mana gameplay wasn't working out for the Hunter the way that we'd hoped originally back when we made that decision 7 years ago or so. We felt like Hunters would benefit more from a resource that comes back more quickly so that they can manage a resource a little bit more tightly. Generally speaking, the dynamics of a mana bar, the way it works is you start with a full bar and then you just kind of work your way, plow your way through it, ignoring it entirely until it's all gone. And then, because it comes back very slowly, you're like trying to figure out what to do about it at that point. So it seemed like a natural class because it's not as magic-oriented of a class to base it around mana. It seemed like a good candidate to do something fresh and different with.
Why not energy?
Well, we really, in a lot of ways, the focus is a lot like energy. It's really an energy bar that recuperates on its own a little bit more slowly than energy, but then by using steady shot, it comes back at a rate a little bit more quickly. So you have a slightly, a little bit more spiky energy regeneration curve. The only reason we didn't make it energy is because it behaves a little bit differently with the interaction with steady shot, and we didn't want to confuse people into thinking that it should behave exactly like a rogue's.
Now, itemization is something that obviously changes quite regularly with you, and we've seen a few. You're also making changes to spell damage and penetration in Cataclysm?
Right, absolutely. With any expansion, pretty much, we go through a little bit of change in terms of trying to refine our stats system. And in this case, we've refined the stat system by eliminating some of the ones that didn't really work out as well as we'd hoped, adding the mastery stat, which we hope will work out as well as we hope. Only time will tell. And then also by just trying to streamline some of the other parts of the game to go along with it. And in this case, we've converted the intellect stat to behave a lot the way that spell power did in the past. Part of the thinking behind that was that it was strange to us that intellect was one of your primary statistics listed in your primary stat sheet for your character, but it really didn't have much of a value. Really, all the casters didn't have a primary stat that really felt like it was very meaningful.
Now we'll get a little more general, and this week at GDC, Greg Short, who's the president of EDAR, said that he thought World of Warcraft as a franchise had stalled. How do you feel in response?
Ouch. Oh. I don't know what in his mind what stalled really means. We still are seeing an increase in the number of people that are playing the game. We still get a lot of fresh new players on a weekly basis, daily basis. So I don't know. I don't know that I would agree with that.
Can you give us some sort of indication of the global active subscriptions for World of Warcraft?
Sure. We're over 11.5 million, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Now, we're seeing a lot of titles going free to play at the moment. There's obviously Age of Empires Online that was announced at GDC Europe 2010. THQ's also got Company of Heroes Online. I'm going to come back to haunt you with something you said previously, that World of Warcraft could potentially go free to play. Is that something that may change in the wake of the popularity of some of these known franchises?
Right. I don't know. I mean, obviously, could potentially is a very general statement. And that will always be true. It could potentially. We don't have any plans for it to go free to play in the near future. Again, who knows how many years from now what decisions we might reconsider. But for now, that model doesn't make sense for us.
Now, the game is over 5 years old. It recently celebrated its birthday. I'm guessing you're hoping it's going to be around at least another 5. How can we expect the game to evolve over the next couple of years?
I think that we'll see continued refinement of the game's mechanics, and then also we'll try to hone in more and more over time on what activities players really enjoy at max level, and try to maybe focus more of our development effort on, not only making the game continuously more accessible for players that haven't played before, but also really identify which parts of the end game players like the most and focus on that. It's hard to say. I think that 2 expansions from now or something like that, we may have completely different ideas of what we're going to be doing. It's definitely something that's pretty hard to predict.
Tom Chilton, thank you very much for your time, and stay tuned for GameSpot's coverage from Gamescom 2010.